7 things that I have learned about photography over the years. And these 7 things might help you too to become a better photographer. Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business. The first one is patience and adaptability. Well, photography teaches you patience. And that has been something that I've been struggling quite a bit, because when I was younger, I wanted the results fast and quick. Well, that's usually when you're young, that's how the way you are. But photography has taught me patience. And that, of course, is a good virtue for any things that you do in life. But especially in photography, which is the topic of this whole video, not life itself, is that the images might not come at the moment you think they are. You need to wait and work the shot and be patient. And one example is this situation where I saw this can on top of this, whatever you call this pole that prevents cars from driving to the walking street that's behind me. And I thought the color is nice. It's a horrifically bad tasting long drink, which pineapple long drink, which is horrible drink. But nevertheless, I like the color of the can. And I wanted to have someone walking by with a colorful coat with something colors, because I saw some colorful delivery cars in the back, as you see the green one. And I liked this shot, but the black coat and everything, it doesn't really work. The composition is nice and the layers and stuff. And then I saw this lady coming with the scooter, with the green scooter, with the colorful jacket. And then there was another person that was, right at the wrong spot. But I still like this image better because it has the colorful coat and the layers with the can in front, and then in the middle is the lady with the scooter, and then the green delivery van in the back. The white one in the middle is kind of a distraction, but I don't know, it doesn't really ruin the shot. It makes it more calm because of it blocks some other stuff in the background. And I think it works quite well. Even though I'm not perfectly happy with the image, there is something about it. And I waited for quite some time on this and walking around the can, which might sound a little bit odd, but yes, I pre-visualized the shot and was patient enough to get at least something. And that is something that we have to do. It doesn't matter what the genre of photography is. You go out photographing birds or animals or whatever you do, or your kids play in the playground. You need to be patient and work the shot to get that perfect moment. And the adaptability is, of course, you need to adapt to different situations, especially in a city. You just cannot get the shot in most cases because there is some other random movement in the background, or someone blocks your view, or you're in the wrong spot, the person turns at the wrong place, because you can't control those. So you need to adapt and be quick and all that. And I think that's something that especially learn if you're photographing kids or animals or, on the street. I think that helps you to become a better photographer if you kind of like are adapted to the changing situations. And the second one is that manual exposure is not the holy grail. Many photographers say that you're not a photographer unless you learn the manual mode. And yeah, it's kind of true, because you have to understand what the differences are, or the relation with ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, how they interact with each other, or the combinations that make the exposure. But that can be done with P mode and exposure compensation. That's what I use most of the time, and that's very good way of making photographs on the streets and on quick situations. Just set your camera to P mode, set the ISO to auto, and set the slowest shutter speed that you want to have. If you don't mind if the motion is a little bit blurred, you can have longer shutter speeds. But if you want to freeze the motion, you need to have a faster shutter speed set up in the camera. In most modern cameras, there is a way to do this. And I think that's kind of makes your mind off the situation where you need to fiddle around with the exposure, because in a city you get shadows and you get bright sunlight, and then you might have some darker corners, and it's really hard. It's the best to just use exposure compensation, and I've set it to back wheel so that I can control the exposure values with that very fast. And I think that's the thing. But it doesn't mean that you don't have to understand the combination, as I said earlier when I was talking about how manual mode is not the holy grail. But of course, you need to know manual mode if you're photographing in the studio with studio flashes. Then it's a different thing. But it's, a different matter. But in general photography, like most of you are doing, P mode is just fine, and then just control it with exposure compensation. And then the third one is embrace imperfections. And this is something that I've struggled many years. I was looking for that perfect shot and was frustrated that I don't get it, and I was too critical to my shots, which is not a bad thing in the long run, to be critical and understand that what photographs are bad for, or when you're taking bad photographs, to realize that these photographs are not that good. So don't settle with mediocre shots. Try, of course, for the best, but sometimes the small imperfections in your photographs makes them great. That just separates them from the perfect shot, which is usually boring. When I talk about the composition later, that's part of that having a composition that is not exactly perfect is usually more interesting. There's more tension in the photograph than just a perfect rule of thirds or golden ratio, which looks nice, but might lack some soul. It might lack some personality, because everybody does that, but breaking it slightly might make the photograph more interesting. And same goes with noise. We don't want the perfect clean images. Sometimes the noise, and like we used to have a heavy grain in film era, makes the image a lot more interesting. There's some character to the image, and sometimes I even add some grain. If it looks too clinical, then adding some texture to the image makes it a lot better. And one way of doing that is to photograph through a glass, for example, to make that little greedy looking image. I think it's a lot more interesting than there are some reflections in the front, and that also makes some depth to the image when you have something in the front that kind of makes so it's not so it is not that clean, the image, and in the reflection you might find some interesting stuff that adds to the story of the image. And also if the image is not exactly sharp, for example this image, which I really enjoy, even though the person in the front is not tagged sharp, it's a little bit blurry, but I don't know what it is, but there's something about this image that is so wrong, but in a way it makes the image a lot more interesting. And this is the only black and white image that I took on my photo walk. This is another image of the same person with someone, and on this one I kind of first noticed the guy, the way he looked, because he was a very interesting hat and the sunglasses and the clothing, and he was with this lady with the orange beanie, and then they stopped in front of this store, and I saw these other yellowish orange colors, and I took the shot, and it was from the hip, because it was a quick situation. When they turned, I was looking at them walking to another direction, but yeah, I took it from the hip, and I think it came out quite well. I needed to crop a little bit to get it a little bit closer. I was a little bit too far away because, as I said, I need to adapt to the situation. And coming from that, embracing the imperfection, we go to the most important thing of them all that I've learned, is that photography is continuous learning and exploration. I've many times in this channel and on my videos said that try different genres just to explore and learn new things, because the basics of photography doesn't change. It doesn't matter what the genre you're doing. They are still the same basic rules about photography, what looks good and what doesn't, and how to approach the situations. But every photography genre has some different specialities. Like in street photography, you need to figure out your approach. Is it a candid approach so that you're being more invisible, or is it something that you want to connect with the people and talk to them and photograph street portraits, for example, or is it non-people photography, that there are no people in the photographs, or what it is, your approach, and how to interact with confrontations and stuff like that if that happens. And then let's say that you have nature and wildlife and landscape are totally different in a way how to approach, but they still have some common things. Like one is the patience that I was talking about earlier. So testing different things and trying different genres, like I did when I was doing more about the gear image testing and making test images. I did quite a lot of bird photographs with my Olympus gear and the OM system gear, and that was a big learning curve for me, because there's something that I haven't done, and there's always things that you can get out of that. And for me, that was, of course, the patient thing was very important in that genre, and of course also the adaptability and the the reaction time and being quick and using a little bit different type of gear and lenses, which I don't usually use, very long lenses and all that. So there's always things that you have to learn, and you have to be also open to new things and learning new things, and that is also one important thing. And in that learning part is also to look at photographs that are something that you don't really like. Try to think why something is very popular in the photographic genre, even though you don't understand it at all. And what is the whole thing about it? And for example, street photography, one example is Daido Moriyama, who's photographing everything that moves. He's, one of those that snappers, goes away, click, click, click very fast and photographs everything that he sees. And it's sometimes really hard to understand why on earth, because I always, thought that, photography is, you need to think and, but he's going more for the feeling and the reaction that he has on certain things. And he photographs everything that he sees interesting. And that's one approach that I have learned from him, for example, that sometimes, like I was talking about this, when you have taking bad photographs for warm-up shots, and I usually use that method, that I start photographing everything that seems to be interesting. If it's worth looking at, it's worth photographing. And I think that's a good thing for the learning thing. And don't be afraid to fail either. And that's something that you have to learn too. That was more about embracing the imperfections, that failing is important. Without a failure, you won't have the success. And then the fifth one is composition and framing. And this is really important, how to make the compelling composition. I was already talking about a little bit about this when we were talking about the mistakes. Learning the way to make the composition so that the image becomes interesting is really a crucial thing. And first you have to learn the right way to make the composition, learn all the basics of composition, and then start breaking them with a purpose that to make the image more interesting. And you can start, for example, going to your archives and looking at images that are really well-made composition, and start, playing around with the crop and see how it is if you totally make it a little bit odd and wrong, and see how if that image is more interesting. For me, the biggest learning that I've learned over the years is that when I started out, and especially when I started out street photography in like 25 years ago, and I had a 10-year break that I didn't do it that much, but at the beginning I was going really close. I was really going to people's faces and setting the camera real close to someone's face and showing the, a portrait, because I was at the time more of a portrait photographer, so that came from that. But over the years, I've started to make photographs that are a bit wider, a bit further away, so that I can, show the context of where the people are and what maybe there are something in the background, which I usually at the beginning of when I started doing street photography more seriously, I didn't show the background. It was just the person. It was a different type of style, which is something that I still like, but I like to, get more wider views, and that is because I want to tell more stories, which is the number 6, story over gear. And of course, gear is important, because I always say that use the gear that feels good when you're photographing, that you like to use and it feels good in my hand. And that's why, for example, my choice of gear nowadays for street photography is mainly this Ricoh GR3X. The reason for that is that I like it to be small, and when I go back and look at my old street photographs, I used big, bulky EOS 1 set cameras, which actually had an APS-H sensor, and I had a 50mm lens, which was 1/3, 1.3 crop, so the 50mm was about 65mm, I guess, or 70mm. But anyways, it was a lot longer. Now I use mainly 40mm full-frame equivalent, which is for me the perfect one. Then I can be close enough but show some surroundings too without being too wide. For example, this shot, like 20 years ago, I wouldn't have made this shot, and I wouldn't have made this shot in, let's say, like 5 years ago, because I would have thought that the image is here. But now when we look at this, there's a lot more story in this. What is this old lady looking? What's going on? And I like the position of the guy. That was a pure luck that when I was taking the shot, he moved away from the older lady in the back, and it tells a lot more stories, raises some questions, which is something that I've been trying to get into my images being a little bit wider, and that's just me. Sometimes if you already do this type of stuff, try to go the opposite way. Try to go closer and see what you can get from that type of photography on the streets. But it's always, like I said, try new different things. And before we get into the 7th one, I will have an extra tip. And the number 7 is something that we neglect too much, and that is backup and preparation. Always have good backups of your images, and I tend to save everything that I shot. Someone asked me in my warm-up shot video that do I save those photographs? Yes, I do. I save everything. And here is a video about how I have set up my backups now for all my images that I've ever made. So don't forget that, because when you have put your soul and heart into your images, what's the biggest tragedy, of course, is that you lose everything because you don't take care of your backups. And then the extra tip, which is developing a unique style. That is something that I'm still struggling a little bit, because as you saw the images that I took on this photo walk when I was thinking about this, what I've learned and done over the years, is that my style is a little bit all over the place. I like to do some black and white shots, even though on this particular one I only had one black and white shot. If you want to be a known street photographer, for example, you need to kind of have a style. And of course, that might not be your goal to be known for your photography. It could be something that you just enjoy, and so don't worry about the style. But it's something that I've been struggling quite a bit, and I'm collecting my images and I'm writing the book about street photography, from snapshot to stories, and that is the textbook, which of course will include some images, and there's a link in the description of this video if you want to get that book. It's not finished yet, but getting the book will give you some benefits when it comes to price. There's also one thing that is for those who are aiming to be professional photographers. Most of you are probably very good amateur photographers, really talented photographers, but you're not professional. You're not making your living out of that. If you are aiming towards that, so if there is a younger audience that are watching this, the biggest thing is to learn business and marketing skills. Without those, it doesn't matter how good you are with your camera and with your creativity. If you can't handle the business and the marketing side, you won't be a success. And here is a video about bad photographs that you might want to watch next. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.